Hello and welcome to Thai Movie Recap, the podcast where we take a deep dive into Thai cinema, and of course, get into full spoilers. Today we're dissecting a film that didn't just scare Thailand, but sent a shiver across the entire globe. A film from the director of the legendary horror hit Shudder, Banjong Pisanthanakul, and produced by Na Hong Jin, the mastermind behind the Korean masterpiece The Wailing. This is The Medium, or in Thai, Rangzong. This film is widely considered one of the greatest horror films to ever come out of Thailand, and for good reason. But before we go any further, I have to give you a massive warning. This episode contains 100% spoilers for the entire film, from the first frame to the last. If you haven't seen it yet and want to experience it fresh, I strongly suggest you stop now, go watch it, and then come back to unpack the horror with me. But if you have seen it, or if you're brave enough, then let's descend into the darkness together. All right. The air is getting a little colder already. Let's start with that initial feeling, right after the credits rolled. For me, the one word that describes it is heavy. This isn't a film of cheap jump scares. This is a film that builds an almost unbearable atmosphere of dread, of pressure, and then it slowly, methodically crushes every last bit of hope you have. It's the kind of film that leaves you sitting in silence for a few minutes after it's over. The horror sticks with you, primarily because of its masterful use of the mockumentary or found footage format. It makes you feel like you are part of that documentary crew, a direct witness to this horrifying series of events. Its realism is its most terrifying weapon. We're not just watching a story, we're experiencing an unfolding tragedy. The heat, the humidity, the ever-present sound of insects in the rural Isan region of Thailand. It all feels so real. Let's break down the narrative. The film introduces us to Nim, the current Rangzong, a shaman or a vessel for a local ancestral deity named Bayan. The filmmakers are brilliant here. They don't present Nim as some all-powerful mystic. She's a normal woman. We see her blessing cars, helping villagers with minor aches. She grounds the film in a stark reality, which makes the supernatural elements that follow all the more jarring. The documentary crew then follows her to her family home, where we meet her sister, Noi, who has fiercely rejected these traditional beliefs and converted to Christianity. You can feel the quiet tension between them immediately. One represents the old ways, the other has fled to a new faith. And at the center of it all is Noi's daughter, Mink, a bright, modern young woman who couldn't be less interested in spirits or shamanism. The true beginning of the nightmare is after the funeral for Mink's father. She starts exhibiting strange, disturbing behavior, severe abdominal pain, hearing voices, and, most alarmingly, a radical shift in her personality. She becomes aggressively sexual, making advances on her male colleagues in a deeply unsettling scene at her office. As a viewer, you're left completely disoriented. Is this a psychological breakdown, teenage rebellion, or is this the first sign of a spiritual inheritance? At first, everyone, including Nim, suspects that the goddess Bayan has chosen Mink as the next vessel, since her mother Noi had refused the calling years before. And this leads to the film's first major turning point. Nim, unable to watch her niece suffer, decides to perform the acceptance ceremony for her. But as she does, she realizes that the entity residing inside Mink is not Bayan. The sheer panic in Nim's voice as she screams, "Who are you?" is the exact moment the film shifts from a cultural documentary into a full-blown, terrifying horror film. From this point on, we are in a freefall into hell. The film becomes a desperate investigation. If it's not Bayan, then what is inside Mink? The search leads them to the dark history of Mink's father's family. Their ancestors owned a textile factory and committed unspeakable sins against their workers: exploitation, abuse, and ultimately, mass murder by arson to cover their crimes. And here is where the film elevates itself beyond a simple possession story. This isn't one ghost seeking revenge, it's an army of them. It's the vengeful spirits of every person that family ever wronged, a tidal wave of hatred and pain, all focused into a single vessel, Mink. This is karma in its most brutal and inescapable form. Mink's physical and mental state deteriorates horrifically. The film uses CCTV footage to capture her nightly terrors with a cold, detached eye that makes it even scarier. There's no dramatic music, no fancy camera work, just a static, voyeuristic view of her descent into inhumanity. We see her crawling on the floor, speaking in tongues, eating rotten food. There are two scenes here that are almost impossible to watch. First, the moment where the possessed mink takes her baby cousin and almost puts him into a boiling pot of water. It's a display of pure, motiveless cruelty. The second is the infamous scene involving the family dog. It's a moment that signals the absolute death of the person Mink once was, replaced by something utterly monstrous. Realizing she is completely outmatched, Nim seeks the help of other shamans to prepare for a massive, final exorcism. But before that can even happen, the film hits us with its most heartbreaking and nihilistic twist. Nim is found dead. Just dead. There's no epic battle, no final stand. She dies an unceremonious, mundane death. The film brutally reminds us that even the story's anchor of hope is just a fragile human being. And her death leads to the film's most powerful and terrifying revelation. The statue of the goddess Bayan has been decapitated. This is a devastating symbol. It's the film screaming at you that God is dead. Hope is gone. The faith they clung to has either abandoned them or was never strong enough to begin with. The final exorcism, therefore, doesn't become a battle for salvation. It becomes a chaotic, primal, and utterly hopeless massacre. The ceremony backfires, and instead of expelling the spirits, it's like it throws open the gates of hell. Everyone in the house becomes possessed, turning on each other in a frenzy of violence. We see Noi, in a final act of despair, set herself on fire. The last we see of Mink, she is sitting on a bed, no longer human, as the spirits finally claim their vessel completely. And then, the final punch to the gut. The film cuts back to an interview with Nim from the very beginning, where she quietly admits, "To be honest, sometimes I'm not sure if Bayan is really in me or not." That single line recontextualizes the entire film, forcing you to question everything you just saw. So after all that horror, what is the film really trying to say? For me, the central theme is faltering faith. The film relentlessly questions belief systems. Nim, the shaman, has her own doubts. Noi flees to Christianity, but her prayers are useless. She ultimately has to return to the very rituals she abandoned. It suggests that in the face of true, absolute evil, faith alone might be a fragile shield. Then there's the theme of karma and inheritance. It's not just about inheriting a spiritual gift, but inheriting the sins of your ancestors. Mink is essentially an innocent sacrifice, paying the price for crimes committed generations before she was born. It's a deeply terrifying look at the cyclical nature of violence. And you have to wonder, was Bayan ever real? Or was she simply a folklore, a story the villagers told themselves to feel safe, a story that crumbled the moment a real, tangible evil showed up? Technically, the film is a masterclass. The acting is phenomenal, especially from Yada Narilya, who plays Mink. Her performance is one of the most physically grueling and transformative I have ever seen. She deserves every award for what she put her body and mind through. And Sawani Utuma, who plays Nim, brings a quiet dignity and realism to her role that makes her the film's emotional core. The found footage style is used to perfection. It strips away the gloss of cinema and immerses you in this raw, unfiltered reality. The moments captured on night vision cameras and static CCTV are some of the most genuinely unsettling sequences in modern horror. The sound design is also crucial. The chanting, the guttural screams, and, most effectively, the moments of dead silence all work together to build an atmosphere that is almost suffocating. And all of these elements combine to make the medium more than just a horror movie. It is an experience, a terrifying, unforgettable experience that burrows deep into your psyche and stays there long after the screen goes black. Thank you for listening to Thai Movie Review and Spoil. This was a heavy one, a story that leaves you with a lot to think about. What are your thoughts on the film? Which scene has stayed with you all these years? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. That's all the time we have for today. Until next time, goodbye.